listening to the Questionnaire.
Say that again.
You're listening to the Questionnaires.
I've just started.
Right here, for your ears, for your eyes.
The Questionnaire.
Get your comic on.
Poke it out, poke it out, poke it out, poke it out.
You remain utterly without shame. Yeah, that's right, I do, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm just reading comic books. What? You really got a problem with that? Do you? Do you? Because I am the Unknown Factor, a.k.a. That Wade Wilson of hip-hop, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Quest on the Questionnaire. Yeah, we're going to get into a couple things. You know, we got a couple things coming. Just had Doug on, Wagner, talking about plastic death and dolls, as well as, you know, getting into San Diego Comic-Con. I know there's like two somewhere in the middle that I haven't edited that are between this and this, that names are escaping me because I don't want to say him. I think one of them was Shadia. I think actually one of them in between all that and somewhere, either that or came out right before Doug's. I'm not really sure. I know we had Lovern Konzersky on the house, man, right? Chatting with us. How you doing, Lovern?
Hi.
Did I get that right?
You did.
See, I thought, look, see, Lovern, what it is you just had to get on the show like 6 times, right?
Whatever works.
And then I got it, and I'll never forget it, Lovern. Like, now I'll like, until I do, for some random reason. I don't know, man. I don't know. How you been, man?
Good. And you?
Life's been interesting, but it isn't always, you know, life interesting. I mean, like, I rightly can't believe how some of this show is going between, you know, everybody we have as co-hosts. You know, I got Scott handling all the booking, Shiro making this show look so much better with the layouts that we're using and making pretty graphics and flyers and things. And, you know, since she's an artist, for some reason she does it better than me. I don't know why. I'm annoyed about it. She's like, stop being annoyed about it. I've done this for years. I'm like, look, I'll be annoyed about it because, like, you do it so fast and I wish I could. And I'm like, but at the same time, I got to edit these damn videos. So, look, see, now I'm cursing. I'm rambling on. Look, you know whose fault it is I'm cursing, Lovern?
No.
I do. It's Chuck Satterlee. Yeah, because he's been, like, swearing up a storm on the pre-show. Like, I would think I was back on NFGR the way you were swearing, Chuck.
I'm effing sorry. I apologize for my cursing and for my actions. I'm just if I could say, I'm just effing in awe. I'm you know what? I'm darn in awe that I'm on this show with you guys in Lovern Konzersky. Period.
Man, if you were gonna go full blown, you just might have been, well, I'm darn well rooting tooting, just happy to be.
I am freaking fracking. We can go Battlestar Galactica geek level and say I'm fracking in awe that I get to spend time on the same screen as Lovern.
Well, thank you. But you have to know that I requested that I be on this show.
That's the thing with the co-host over here. Like, look, we've got rotating co-hosts over here, and I love Lovern, everybody else. I mean, it amazes me some of the co-hosts that are on the show. I mean, and they've all been on the show previously as well, where we've chatted along them, and we've chatted. You can go through everything if you want to, y'all. But I love it because it is just a thing. I'm like, okay, everybody, here's everybody who's coming up. Who wants to jump on what? And I send this email that's got, I don't know, 10, 20 names on it sometimes, and they can, and just whoever grabs what is whatever. I don't. It's a very, yeah. That's just good.
I mean, I'll jump off this in a minute. I may embarrass Lovern, but the simple fact is, if you know comics and you know the history of comics, you know that the entire industry was changed by Lovern Konzersky and Digital Chameleon and digital coloring and coloring in general. The entire industry would not be where it is today without you, Lovern, without Digital Chameleon, without Lovern Konzersky, without all of the work you did and all of the innovations you did. This industry is not where it is today without you. That's a hard stop, period.
Well,
thank you.
and you make valid points, Chuck. Lovern, I mean, and if you, for anyone that looks at Lovern's work too, it's extensive, and I mean, what haven't you colored, Lovern? Really, in all honesty,
The mouse.
huh? No, I said
Mouse.
what? I said what haven't you?
What haven't I? I haven't
Yeah,
colored the mouse.
the moat.
Mickey Mouse.
Oh, well,
You use,
okay, that's.
I get it. You use the mouse to color, but you haven't colored the mouse.
But you colored for so many things that the mouse is making so much money off of right now at the same time.
I'm working. I'm essentially working for the mouse now, but since they bought Marvel.
All right. Well, good. I'm glad to hear it.
I think let's get into something though, because like there was a pre-show, but it wasn't recorded, and that's what it was. So and we were getting into a number of different things, and a lot of it is just how much as the industry has changed. And obviously, Lovern, which you came in with digital coloring, that did a great change on the industry because it changed the pace, it changed how quickly people could get things done. There's so many effects that had, and just digital art in general when that came in as well. But something that I'd never thought of until Chuck brought it up just a moment ago was, if you look, I mean, there's a lot of independent creators now, people that are shipping their own books out, right? And look, if you're Marvel or you're DC, your books go where you want them to go, and that's the end of the story, because you have a network of I'll ship this wherever it'll get there, right? And that's just how it is because of the companies they have behind them. Um, but but man, if Chuck, you're up in Canada, right?
Chicago.
Oh, you're in Chicago? Whoa, you're really close to me. I did not know that, Chuck. For some reason, I thought you were in Canada. I'm in Indiana. Terre Haute, actually, so really close.
Where?
Yeah, like Terre Haute.
Oh, okay. A few hours.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's like a 2-hour drive, I think, if memory serves
Where in
proper.
Canada?
I don't know why. Yeah, but for some reason, man, look, I've had too many people on this show. There's been a lot of Canadians, Chuck, and I can't keep track of where everybody's from. I don't have it mapped out. I really should. But you said shipping internationally with your book is what really got you, especially with it being an omnibus. I can't imagine. Could you not ship that media mail?
Say it again. I'm sorry.
Could you not ship that media mail?
Well, it really doesn't matter once it goes international. The Upbitter omnibus was over 5 pounds, and like I shipped one book to Estonia. I charged $30, or excuse me, $40 for shipping. You want to guess how much it was?
All right,
You want to guess?
140.
All right,
Laverne,
Laverne?
you're really
Well,
close,
hold on,
dude.
hold on,
It was
hold on.
$160.
Oh, hey, I
Yeah.
wanted to make a guess, Chuck. But yeah, that's
Yeah, the international shipping on the Upbitter Souls omnibus kicked my ass.
yeah. When you eat $120 in shipping on one book,
Yeah.
and I can imagine that was a.
To be honest, there are a few people out there who haven't received their omnibus yet because I can't afford it. But they'll get it. I freely and openly admit when I fuck up. Laverne, you know that, but I own my own mistakes. But there's 3 or 4 people who have yet to receive an omnibus because I need about, quite frankly, $500-600 to do it, and things are looking up for me job wise, so I'll be able to do it soon. But yeah, international shipping sucks balls, and I didn't cuss there.
I'm wondering what it was before COVID. Like, I know shipping has changed a lot here and that, so I think like everything else, it seems to have greatly increased since COVID.
Yeah, like milk and shipping.
I was shocked. I went to buy some cooking oil and found out that the bottle that I used to think was like, what was it, $9, $10, is now $25. You want to explain that to me? Yeah.
Do you want me to, Lovern? Because it's very
No,
depressing, and it's
no,
why.
I think I'd rather beat my head against a cement wall than hear the explanation.
Okay, I mean, because
I'm with
it's a very simple explanation that involves a
Oh,
book that not enough people study, and the fact that it's being used economically and socially, and people are not
okay.
aware.
So tell me why um,
Here we go.
comic book page rates have gone down instead of stayed pace with the economy.
The same. Why that specifically? The same reason so many other things have to do with art. Like, if you think about it, if you look at what people were getting paid in the 90s and early 2000s, as opposed to now, when they're the artists that aren't the scene artists. You know what I mean? Sure, Robert Downey Jr., I don't want to know how much they paid him to come be Victor Von Doom. All right? I don't even I don't even frankly want to think about how gross of a figure that is for a human being to be paid to do so little. Nothing against Robert Downey Jr. when I say that. I'm totally going to clip that out and make it a reel so I can just offend everybody, right?
Change it to Marlon Brando.
Downey
Yeah.
Jr. is a great actor, but yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's the fact of an overcompensation to certain people because they've put themselves in positions. And that's caused it to where the pace, I don't know, man. It's look, the job that I currently work as, not doing the questionnaire, subscribe to the Patreon, right? Make it to where I can do this full time, and we will bring you so much more comic and screwed up things and opinions from all kinds of people about all kinds of things. It's only $2 a month. But
Subscribe, because this
yeah,
MFer, I do not cuss, is doing a good job.
but the job that I currently do is merchandising, and I work for a company that's hired by so many different other companies to go and do these things, and it is such a middleman of a middleman of a middleman of a middleman, so more middlemen exist, so the men all below the top men all get less, and that's exactly what it is. Again, it's a book written by Sun Tzu being used both socially and economically. And it's slightly
Talking about the Art
terrifying.
of War.
I mean, what else, man? Do you not see it, Chuck?
I'm looking for the Art of War. I have it right here somewhere. But anyway,
Yeah, it's on the bookshelf behind me.
yeah.
But
Yeah, it's right beside my copy of the Book of Five Rings.
okay. So but can you grab this, and then off the exact same shelf, I've done this in a previous show. I think it's hilarious. Let me move Venom real quick. All right, move Galactus out my way. All right. Grab you a random wizard.
I cannot do that, but I will say this regarding Wizard, because that, with all due respect, that's when Lovern was at the height of what he was doing. I do. I'm jumping off topic right now, but I do think back to the days when Wizard would do a casting call, and that's all we had. And now people on the internet.
Chuck, I gotta dip in because look,
they MF every movie that comes out, and back in the day, Lovern, all we had was casting call from Wizard.
Look,
and that was our big thing of the month. Oh my God, who could be cast as who in this comic book movie? And now we have a comic book movie every 8 days.
all right. Well, firstly, now I know I have to go and get a more collection of wizards for the purpose of a bit. I've really, really been thinking of starting, Chuck, and you're like, fine, we're just gonna start it today, right? So the casting call for Wonder Woman from Wizard number
Let's go.
227.
Let's
Right?
do this.
And let's see, page 98. Let me flip to this page. All right, so let's see, because you're right. This is all that it was, man. So
All we had back
yeah,
then.
we got Jennifer Connelly as Wonder Woman. Right,
I'm in.
right. Catherine
Okay.
Zeta-Jones, right? As I am not pronouncing that character's name because I'll butcher it because I don't. I've watched the Wonder Woman. That's just I've never been much of a Wonder Woman guy, to be real honest. Eliza Dushka as wait, I didn't as Donna Troy, right?
Oh yeah,
I remember her. Yeah.
Elijah
yeah. From all that Buffy stuff
Elijah
Right.
Cutbirth.
and Dollhouse.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know most of these names. Elijah Cutbirth is Wonder Girl.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kind of.
yeah. Yeah.
And then what we got? Andrea Parker as Circa. I don't even know. See, this is
I
the
don't know Andrea Parker. Do you, Lovern?
Nope.
I the other Elizas, I knew both of them, but you know, all due respect to Gal Gadot because she was fantastic. That's all we had back in the day.
but you got
I will point out that Wizard casted Patrick Stewart as Professor X, and that just played out and now we had Deadpool Wolverine a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
there you go.
Who was
Antonio
Cheetah?
Antonio Banderas.
Antonio Banderas was no.
Was who?
Was the
Cheetah?
cheetah.
What?
That was who they cast him as.
What did they gender change him back in the 90s? Well, anyway, whatever. But yeah, Wizard Magazine was good for casting calls for top 10 writers and artists. Should have been top 10 colorists because Lovern would have been on every list. So
Why do you think?
Well, they gave me a few awards back then, so I guess they like me.
goddamn right they liked you. You were you anyway. I will get off my Lovern soapbox, but yeah. So anyway.
No, I
Well,
truly love it, man. Because like I said, you're right in that, Chuck. I mean, as far as I can't, it makes me. Lovern, do you know how many books you've done coloring wise? Like, do you have a number?
100.
27.
2700.
Maybe. I have no idea.
That's the correct answer that I was looking for, not 20.
I have a 8-page credit list that I can send out.
8-page credit.
Yeah, Lovern Kazurski is the colorist version of Tom Orzakowski on letters.
Ooh, I don't know if I'm that good, but thank you.
Lovern, come on. You know, let's be real. As far as colorists go, you're the Tom Orzakowski of colors, in my opinion. So.
Well, that's pretty cool because Tom Orzakowski is a hell of a letterer.
Well, now I feel like we need to get him on the show.
All due respect, he's the letterer. You're the colorist. And then, and then everybody else, is down the line on the Mount Rushmore of both. You know, seriously.
Well, now I want your Mount Rushmore of colors, Chuck.
Well,
I mean, one is real obvious at this
fine.
point.
I can do this. Challenge accepted. You know, here, hold my beer. So we got Lovern. There is a colorist that is kicking ass right now I've never seen Phil Hester so vibrant as I did with Gotham year one, and that's Jordan. I want to say Belair. Do you know her?
Yeah, Jordi Belair.
Jordi Belair. Yeah. I would say she's up there. There's Eva I want to say is her name Eva Dela Cruz. She colors Inaki Miranda a lot.
No,
Do you know who I'm talking
no, I'm not familiar with that.
I feel like I've
even
seen
though
that name.
up there, and then I would also put he's less known, but I think he's amazing. DC Alonso. So I would put those four on my if we're talking digital, if we want to go further back and go to colorists before digital, we can do that too. But I want to put Lovern in a category where he belongs. Before those colorists before digital, they did amazing work. They did their best they could, but let's just face it, when it became digital, it was better. I'm sorry, it was. Lovern,
Yeah.
you know exactly, like with Smoke and Mirror, that piece of shit book you did by that guy Chuck Satterlee years and years and years ago. But you did modern, and you did like silver/golden age style coloring, on that book. But yeah, those are four colorists I would put on my Mount Rushmore.
Well, why do you think it is, Chuck, that people that like the common person has no idea of the perception, the amount of work that both the colorist and the letterer specifically put in that really make a comic book work? Because you're right. Without if you have an incompetent letterer or an incompetent colorist, you're going to have an incompetent comic,
Well,
it's gonna hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovern's in Canada, but you're in Indiana. You're in Indiana, and Indiana is a soccer and basketball state, but you still have football. You have the Colts. Let's talk football for a second. If a football team is successful, it's because they have kick butt. I'm not going to say the A word because I'm not cursing. If they have kick butt offensive and defensive linemen, right? They have defensive linemen that get after the quarterback, and they have offensive linemen that keep people from the quarterback. If those offensive and defensive linemen aren't doing their job, then the team breaks down. If they are doing their job, nobody knows who the frick they are. And I kind of liken that to letterers and colorists. If a colorist and a letterer are doing their job properly, nobody, I don't mean any disrespect, Lovern, nobody notices.
Yeah.
Because they're able to read the story continuously from the beginning to the end, and they don't ever drop out of it. But if the letters and the colors aren't absolutely freaking spot on, then they're pulled out of the story and they notice it. And then say, oh, the offensive line or the defensive line failed the team today, right? So offensive and defensive linemen, colorists and letterers are thankless freaking jobs. And
wait. Which one's the offense and which one's the defense?
I can be pretty offensive.
I don't know, but if you don't have a letterer who knows what the hell they're doing, and you don't have a colorist who understands light sources, who understand everything, if you don't have a colorist who just doesn't get it, then your comic book, let's face it, your comic book sucks, and it's an 8th grade art project, and it shouldn't be on the market.
Well, let's go ahead and say how you really feel, Chuck. If you need a heck of a letter, I will say Andrew Thomas, who you can see designed the Questionnaire logo, which I think should be right here. Yeah, I think that should be right. I don't know, maybe like.
Hey man, we need some letterers for this anthology that we're doing that I'm supposed to be on for this, but I love this conversation. So,
we're talking. We're supposed to talk about comic books on this show.
I wanted to ask.
Paid to Lovern, it's not proper.
I wanted to ask you about what it was like. You took a break for a while from comics and that. But when you came back into it, was it like standing up in the back of the convertible all of a sudden, or was it smoother than that?
No. It's terrible. It was like it was like walking into a room with everything is different, Lovern. Everything. you know, from the way you submit to a publisher to crowdfunding. That's different. I mean, that exists. Back when I quit and I walked away, there was no crowdfunding. So all of it. Right now, you have small publishers, and I'm not going to name any, but the simple fact is, you have a bunch of small publishers out there that are trying to grab your rights for your IP, and they don't really offer anything. I mean, right now, quite frankly, I could do a crowdfund for something and outsell most of the small publishers that are offering. You know, could I get a publishing deal at a small publisher? Probably by just raising my hand and saying hi. You know, my resume, while in your presence, Lovern, or in Phil's, or in Ron Mars or something's presence, it's not very good. But if I went to some of these small publishers, I could raise my hand and say, this is what I've done. And they'd like, oh, please come to us. Right. You know, I'm represented by Ken Levin, and yeah, I could get a deal, but they can't offer anything, you know? You know, so the industry is so much different now. And it takes a Herculean effort to adjust, and to, you know, and at my age, to figure out how to move forward. I gave myself 24 months as of last month. I gave myself 24 more months. If it doesn't happen, I'm forever an insurance agent. And that's the way it is. But I've had a couple of small hits. But yeah, dude, the industry is unrecognizable from what it was. And the editors at DC and Marvel are 30 years younger than me now. And you know, if you post the wrong thing on, you know, I'm a deeply liberal, progressive person, but even a deeply liberal, I have no, there's nothing I can lose right now, nothing. So I'll just go ahead and say it. Like when Ed Piskor committed suicide, I was with a publisher and I posted that I feel like Ed Piskor was partially murdered, right? And I got a bunch of DMs and emails like, dude, you're going to destroy your comic book career because you said that, you know? And you know, I don't know what to tell you. You know, I feel what I feel, but yeah, Lovern, it's an unrecognizable industry, and I'm not sure I dig it, but I still love comics, but I'm not sure I dig what I see today. Fair?
Yeah.
You know what the sad thing is about that statement is I think it goes across to more things than anyone would ever think that it does, as far as almost any job that you could acquire. You know, I mean, think about working at Walmart now compared to working at Walmart 20 years ago, hell, 10 years ago. You know what I mean? You're not really worried about helping the customer in the store anymore because you have to shop for the people that won't go to the store. And you have to make sure you're not checking anybody out and speaking to anybody. You're actually just like helping them with a quick problem while they check out and maybe steal some stuff. Because Walmart, I think it's so screwy, you're willing to just, whatever, man, whatever. I ain't getting into corporate. If we're gonna get into corporate stuff, it's gonna get real deep over here. Is all I know, because I ain't a fan of the corporate structure. So that's the thing.
If we're getting into corporate stuff, then I have to leave because I got nothing.
I'm out. I'm out.
That was a short conversation.
I didn't expect that from you, Lovern, to be real on your. Is it just you don't want to talk about it because it makes your brain hurt, or is there a different reason?
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that you know, I have almost no profile in this industry now anyway, so I can't take I can't lose one reader.
Well, I hope they
Yeah.
don't take it that way. And I'm talking more broader strokes as far as the entirety of just how everything's done. As far as I don't mean specifically comics, I mean it on so much of a larger
Oh, you want to
scale.
talk about Musk and Bezos and the like?
I mean, we could get into that too, but I mean, I definitely think like if you look at specifically, wait, yeah, Bezos, that's Amazon, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah. If you look at that one and you don't think that's a problem, I don't know what's wrong with you.
I'm more interested. I'm more interested in hearing the identity of the publisher now. Like Chuck said, everything's changed. So if you're going to be a publisher now, you're wearing a lot of different hats always, but I'm guessing they're completely different hats now. And are you more interested? And you said I mean, you love comics. I think that's what we all love, comics. That's why we're here. But how much is happening out there is people that are seeing this as a business opportunity where they can get a bunch of people that love comics to help them make money. And how many like people are out there like that? Or are we all just a bunch of comic fans trying somehow to get any piece of the comic book pie? Like, do you think that?
Well, I mean, Lovern, I don't fault. Tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I don't fault a publisher for wanting to make profit. I mean, business is business, and profit is profit, and that's why we're in business, to make profit. But then there are, it seems like 9 out of 10 small publishers. I'm not talking about, because let me back up. A couple of my partners and I decided a couple of months ago we were done with the small publishers. We'll either crowdfund or we'll go to dark. I know a few people,
Yeah.
you know that, and I sent out an email a few months ago that said, I'm done. I'm done with the small publishers. I'm done with all the bullshit. And I've never asked you for anything in all these years I've known you. But if you are willing, I have these projects. I have 24 months left. I mentioned that earlier. That I keep trying this. If you would be open to helping me by walking some of these projects in, if you feel they're worthy, to Dark Horse, Image, Boom, Mad Cave, some of the bigger companies, I'd appreciate it, because I'm just simply not interested in. Oh man, I'm going to get myself in trouble here, but I'm not going to name a publisher, but
Don't. But real quick, Chuck, I just got to say, when you said small publisher, I was curious as to what level you meant. You know what I mean?
I think Mad Cave, or maybe let's just say Scout is maybe the cutoff, because Brendan, like Scout got a lot of bullshit claims against that. Not bullshit claims against them, because they admitted communication problems. But the simple fact is that a lot of creators these days think that, God, I'm going to get myself in deep shit for this interview. A lot of younger creators these days, they get a contract for publishing, and they think that it's the freaking bee's knees, and it's the end of the world, and they're now amazing, right? And they think that they're going to have a bunch of money coming to them, and then when the publisher doesn't pay them anything, they're pissed, right? And they blame the publisher. But the simple fact of the matter is that they didn't make any money, right? And so the publisher doesn't have any money to pay them, and that's the way it is. Pull up your freaking pants and get to the next job. I don't know what to tell you, but Scout Comics, started by Brenda Deneen, who's a friend of mine, and they got a lot of bullshit a couple months ago because they weren't paying anybody. But the creators that were mad about it didn't understand that they didn't make any money. Now, Scout, they admitted to the communications part on their end, but they didn't, those comics didn't make any money, and everybody's like MFing Scout. So I would say Scout would be the smallest of the publishers, to answer your question. And moving up, I just don't have any interest in publishers that are smaller than that, because God, I am, nobody knows who I am except for a few people. But even the few people who I know who I am, I could do a crowdfunding project and make more sales than some of these small publishers can through Diamond, because nobody's looking at Diamond anymore anyway. Am I wrong, Lovern?
No. No, I see a lot of stuff that's going out there now and that, and I don't have anything I'm not working on anything that's crowdfunded, and not because I wouldn't.
Tomorrow.
But I haven't been invited. But I had one instance of working on a crowdfunded project and that, and they were really, the people I was working with were really professional and all that, and it was backed by a celebrity and all that, and they raised a ton of money, but not their goal, and so it never happened. So it's like you can do everything right and still fail, and a lot of people don't understand that you can that they can bust their backs getting the work out, and everybody else is getting it out, and it goes out, and if it sells 3,000 copies, nobody's making any money.
And I'm curious within that, because this is a conversation we've had on the show with a number of people from all different levels. Because one thing I want to point out is I think it's funny as far as what you were talking about, Chuck, as far as funding and the publishers didn't have money. And then we had a recent conversation with Erica Schultz, and she's she's currently writing 5-6 books, I think, and 3 or 4 of them are from Marvel. One's a Spawn title, and then there's something else. And she's like, I do this to make sure all the bills are paid, right? And I want everybody to listen and grasp what I just said. I said she's writing 3 or 4 Marvel titles. All right, she's writing a Spawn book, right? And then one other thing. This is everything she's doing to make sure everything's kosher around where she is, and it's all nice and handled. That's a lot, right? That's a lot of writing on a monthly basis, right? So it's kind of crazy. But then the other thing is, if you look,
First thing that pops into my head is I'd like to know what the page rates are. Have they gone down since last time I was writing there?
Well, I don't want to name the person who I spoke to, because it's not fair to that person. But again, I'm not trying to name drop, but I've been around a long time, and I know a lot of people. And Lovern, you kind of alluded to it. The simple fact is that page rates, whether it's a writer, penciler, inker, colorist, letterer, whatever, they just haven't kept up with the time. And they've actually, and so even if a page rate is even if page rate's a little higher right now, it's worth less now than it was.
Well, see, and I'll name drop, because it was actually dropped on the show, which we had Mark McKenna on, and when he was going back to Marvel, they said they were trying to give him a lower page rate, and his response to that was, "Hey, what's up with this? This is a new page rate." And what they said back to him was, "Well, we know we can get somebody else from such and such, and they'll do it for this or cheaper, so this is what you're getting offered, and it's even a bit more than that person. The other person that could do it cheaper, they're giving him a bit more than that person, but they're doing it, but it's lower than his page rate because they know they can get it at that amount." So it's a thing of absolutely no loyalty for people that you've worked with, I'm Lovern. I completely agree. But it's not.
I mean, it sounds odd to me because I can see it like my page rate is not what it was. And when I was talking to editors about it, they basically said that, okay, we know what your page rate is, like when the change happened, but right now we have to go from the budgets of the books to set your page rate. So now, like if you did issue 12 and you got $125 a page, well, issue 13 is actually only selling enough for us to give you $100 a page. And I went, okay, so this is based on the sales of the book, and you're not going to just give me my page rate, because then I'm going to unjustly affect your profits on margin on the book and that. So if I'm on an A-line book, yeah, I'll get my old page rate, but it's my old page rate. It hasn't. It used to be when I started before even Digital Chameleon, when I was just doing color guides for DC. I started at a certain rate, and the next year they let me know that now it's a little bit more. So instead of getting, I don't know, like $25 a page, I was getting 30, because I had been with them, and and it wasn't just because it was a year later, it was because I had done a certain amount of work for them. I believe I had done 36 issues that year. So the next year was, okay, you've done enough, so we want to keep you working for us. So we're going to give you this little, $5 per page thing. And I was like, wow, really? And that kept going for a long time. Until digital started. And then I was in a different position, and I'm not sure what the other colorists were getting at that point, but I suspect it was the same sort of deal where they would, if they did enough work and justified enough sales, they would get a little bit of a raise at the end of the year. But I haven't seen a raise. Actually, I've just seen my page rate go down for 20 years. So that when I was doing work in the 90s on Penthouse, I might get $1,000 a page. Now I've been offered beautiful work, incredible comic book work, and I was offered $40 a page to do more work than I was doing on average on those Penthouse pages.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that, except for the fact that, it's crazy because some of the larger publishers, let's face it, they're making bank, and it is what it is, excuse me, Lovern is in a different position than I am. The biggest thing that I've ever done was working with Norm or Phil on 13 Steps or A Bitter Souls, or working on Kong, King of Skull Island. That's the biggest thing I've ever done. I don't know, Lovern, is there a top Marvel or DC character you haven't worked on?
Geez, I don't know. I don't think I worked. No, I did some pinups on Thor and that, but not regular books.
But name a top DC or Marvel character you literally haven't worked on. You haven't colored.
I haven't.
Is there one?
No, I don't think so.
All right, that's my point. So it's just different. It's different now. We've done 30 minutes on Lovern's question about how I walked away from comics and came back, but it's unrecognizable. And you have to make do. As an indie guy, it's a little easier for me to make do than I think it is for Lovern. But nonetheless, I, as an indie guy, I don't have any interest at all in working with, Joe's comics. I just don't care. they, they'll send you a publishing contract, which, man, I can get a publishing contract tomorrow, which is, I appreciate that. I could submit to a bunch of companies and they would be like, fuck yeah, or excuse me, screw yes, heck yeah. I will publish that guy.
Real quick, at this point, Chuck, you might as well give up. I don't know how many times you've cursed, but this thing is definitely like I feel like there's certain episodes that just be like, look, this one isn't PG. I'm sorry, I can't control people, and I'm not gonna sit here and nag them endlessly. But like, so stop editing yourself at this point because it's just more.
All right. But the bottom line is that a lot of these publishers, they just want to sign as many comics as they possibly can because they have IP rights, and maybe one of them hits, and then they have the Walking Dead or the Invincible or the Preacher or or Umbrella Academy or something like that. And everybody makes a bunch of money. But let's face it, there's only Umbrella Academy, Walking Dead, Invincible. There's Sweet Tooth. There's only a few that actually make it, and everything else is just a library of IP. And these I don't know, IP factories. They just sign people. They don't care, and the people don't make money. And then the creators think they finally made it because they don't have enough experience or know how to understand that they did not make it. And then they end up going online saying, I didn't, I had a terrible experience, So it's, I saw a Cleveland Brown YouTube video one time of a fan who was yelling at the stadium saying, "You are a factory of sadness," to the Cleveland Browns. And, I would liken the comic book industry for indie comics to saying, "You are a factory of sadness." And you know what he said afterwards? "I'll see you Sunday." And that's how I am with comics. Comic books are a factory of sadness. I'll see you Wednesday. I don't know.
When you're looking to publish something now, or and the market's changed and all that, are you talking to any kind of, like, are you putting yourself out there so that, say, an actor like Tom Hardy, I think, who's got a comic coming out much the same as, I'm only saying much the same, I'm not entirely sure, but what Keanu did?
Berserker? Yeah, Berserker? I think you're right. I'm not positive, but I think.
What's that?
Hello?
I'm sorry. What did you say? I think what?
Oh no, I was just saying, Lovern, I think you're right as far as Tom Hardy having a comic like that. That's all. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
are you putting yourself into positions where you can talk to people like that about what they want to do? Or
so back in the day, back when we were doing Smoke and Mirror and Bitter Souls and everything, I was represented by Ken Levin. You know who that is, don't you? Yeah. So Ken Levin is back then was the founder of First Comics, and he was a somewhat unknown in the movie business, guy, representative. He is now Ken Levin, and he is The Boys and Preacher and everything else. So when I got back into comics, I called Ken and I said, "Hey, would you represent me again?" And he said, "Sure." So Lovern, I'm represented by Ken, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna make anything ever. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. And so it is what it is. But at least I have a leg up, and I'm represented by a guy who has made some waves. You know what I mean? But my biggest thing was when I came back, I got in. I'm doing some work with some other creators, and we did this book called Working Class Wizards that went to a small publisher. But I'm just, you know, I'm not. I have a bunch of comics coming out. They may or may not be coming out, but I can't say anything right now. You know how that is. But they probably are coming out from some bigger publishers because of the email I referenced earlier. I said to some friends, you know. So we'll see. You know, if it works, it works. And we'll see if there's budgets. If there's budgets, there's Lovern. If there's not budgets, there's no Lovern.
Dude, I'm doing work right now for what did I do? I did a Steve Niles book for Dark Horse.
Steve Niles is in Pots and Panels. It might transfer into the reason we do this.
It's a brilliant book. It's I'm not sure when it's coming out. Did
Worm draw it?
Pardon me?
Did Worm draw it?
It was drawn by Piotr Kowalski.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And I believe I got $60 a page for that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm doing one thing I never did before is I was never in an anthology before. And speaking of Steve Niles, may I talk about that? Because that's why we're here, right? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Chuck. You can't talk about anything you've got coming up. All right. All we're doing is like, we're not talking about comics here. What are you talking about? Like, you think this is a comic book show or something? What made you think this was a comic book show? Chuck, anything? No, go ahead, man.
I know. F me. So I'm a foodie. When COVID hit, my wife and I started to, we're not chefs, but we started to follow recipes. There's a difference between a chef and a person who just reads a recipe and cooks something. But we started to do that, and we really enjoyed it. And now we continue to cook, and it's far less expensive and more rewarding. So we became foodies. We watched Food Network, Guy Fieri, all that stuff, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, Guy's Grocery Games, Chopped, Beat Bobby Flay, all that stuff. And so I started thinking, and on Twitter, a bunch of indie comic book guys and I were, we started talking about what's the best like burger in all of fast food, and we started talking about that. And I started thinking, wouldn't it be cool if we brought comic books and food together? And I came up with the idea of a anthology called Pots and Panels, and that's what we're doing. That's what I'm working on right now. Apart from my projects, my main comic book projects, this anthology. I was talking with some friends, and we thought, yeah, let's invite some people we know, some indie guys, right? And we'll do food themed short stories, any genre. And then each creator will bring a recipe that they love with a 1 to 2 paragraph story about why they love that recipe. So it'll be half stories, half recipes in a comic book anthology. So it's called Pots and Panels, a comic cookbook anthology. But then we started thinking, the people that I work with, well, and I've said this a couple times, and I swear to God, I'm not trying to name drop, but I know a couple people, right? I've been around a long time, been around a minute, you know, I know some people. And so I started sending those emails out, and now, and then all of a sudden Ron Mars jumped in, Andy Kuhn jumped in, Steve Niles jumped in, Phil Hester jumped in, Andy Parks jumped in, Tony Isabella jumped in. All these people started jumping in, and all of a sudden we had really well-known names and some indie names, and we started putting them together. And now we have a book that's going to launch on Kickstarter on October 1st. It's 50 stories with 87 different creators so far, and all based around food. And all of those 87 creators are bringing recipes to the book, you know. So it's part part anthology of short stories based around food, any genre, part cookbook. And we fully expect to, since I have the full permission to curse, we fully expect to break Kickstarter's ass, because we think it's going to do really, really well. And
well, real quick,
that's why I can call you tomorrow, Lovern.
yeah,
Anyway,
look,
that's
real
it.
quick, I wasn't giving you permission to curse. I mean, come on, dude. I am trying to keep it PG. Comics are for everyone. I'm trying to make the show for everyone. But look, sometimes you
Let's say
creators,
art.
sometimes you
Let's say
creators are mouthy like you do hip hop. I swear on my life, right? But that's neither here nor there. I'm curious with this, Chuck. Can you tell us, like, is there a story that was about food that you went, dude? What's wrong with you?
There is, and it was Steve Niles. This is the third time we brought up Steve Niles tonight. Steve Niles' story in our book. That man is a sick man. There's something wrong with. I love Steve Niles, and I am awestruck, and I am I'm just a fanboy to hell. But good Lord, Steve Niles' story is just wrong. Also, I would say that there's a writer who has a book out with Band of Bards called Big Guns, Stupid Rednecks. His name is Austin Hamlin. He's one of the organizers in our story. He wrote a story. He's a butcher in real life. And his story, that man, someone needs to watch it. Maybe the Iowa City police need to just sit outside his house and just stake out that man and just make sure nothing happens to any of those poor Iowa City citizens.
Make sure they check the drums that are leaving through the back of the property.
That's exactly right, Lovern. Because that story he wrote is just sick and wrong.
Well, so then you don't need me to write anything.
Well, that's a conversation for tomorrow.
I want to know.
I told you to call you.
I need to know, can you tell us what recipe goes with this sick story by the butcher?
I don't know, but I can tell you some of the stories. Like we have, you guys remember the 1990s and grunge? Do you remember the Toadies?
I can't say I do.
Well, to me, they were as big as Pearl Jam back then. But the drummer for the Toadies, Mark Resnicek, he also did Buzzkill from Image with I want to say Donny Cates, maybe, anyway, long story, but he did a fantastic story called Sauerkraut and Sausage. It was a loving story about his family. Then there's who Steve Bryant is? You ever heard of Athena Voltaire?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I feel like I've heard the name, guys.
Anyway, go ahead with your story.
He wrote a story called Holes about when he was a kid, his parents owned a donut store, and he hated being at that donut store. And now his parents are dead, and he just longs for the smell of that donut store, But then we also have those effed up stories by Hamlin and by Niles. We got a great story by Neil Clyde, bringing their character Savor from with John Brolia. We have I brought an Upbitter Souls story back. First time I've ever had an artist other than Norm Brayfogle work on Upbitter Souls. A guy named Gar Berner. He's doing a book, a story what we're calling Napoleon House. We've got a story called Montana, which is about an old man in the mountains in the late 1800s who shares some beef jerky with a wolf. So every story is based in food, but there's murder, there's biographical. It's a great book, and there are some wonderful pieces of art in it. Travis Gibb, who has he's the curator of all of the Cthulhu Invades anthologies. Right now, they have Cthulhu Invades Fairy Tales. It's raised over $20,000 on Kickstarter. He has a book based in the Old West called Served Cold. You know, Andrew Foley, who's one of my favorite writers who nobody knows of. He wrote with Fred Van Lent at Platinum. He wrote Cowboys and Aliens back in the day. At Speakeasy, he wrote something called Parting Ways, and at Marcosia, he wrote Done to Death. He wrote a book about a Greek mafia hit squad who is it's a comedy. They're staking out a subject, you know, a hit, and they get hungry and they order food, and because they order food, it screws up the entire hit. And the story is called Takeout, and it's fantastic, you know. So Pots and Panels is going to be fantastic. It's going to be on Kickstarter, and it'll be launching around October 1st.
All right, so I gotta know then, man. We've got some of the stories. What are some of the recipes? Can you give a little tidbit?
Sure. Will you give me a second to pull up the recipe folder?
No, man. Why do you not have it handy?
Well, when you're taking that time, I got to tell you, the first Neil Adams artwork that I saw when I was a kid was in a cookbook.
Huh.
Really?
Yeah. It was different artists, and they were putting down their recipes and stuff. And Neil had some of his artwork from what was it, Ben Casey, that he was working on before he got into comics.
Wow, I don't even want to talk about how I pissed off Neil Adams through.
Oh, well, then don't.
I will. I don't mind.
It was a great book that I had for years until somebody stole it from me, and I've never been able to replace it. But it was Neil Adams artwork in it, and then it was a recipe that he and his wife really enjoyed, and they had gotten into, I forget what happened, but they'd gotten into Chinese cooking, and they were loving the hell out of it. And it was one recipe that they worked up, and so that was the recipe he put in the book. And when I met him, I said, I don't remember what the recipe was now, but I remembered when I met him, and I said, so I think it was at a con, and I was saying, so are you going out for lemon chicken tonight or whatever? And he laughed, and I said, well, isn't that your favorite? You said it in this book. And he was like, okay, so you're the guy that bought that single copy.
So Norman Brayfogle, as you know, was Norman Brayfogle's mentor, and one of them. And so when we were doing Up Bitter Souls, Norman Brayfogle sent an email to Norm and said, "Hey, I'd really appreciate if you could, like draw something for Up Bitter Souls or just talk about it or whatever." And Norm and Neil Adams hated Up Bitter Soul. He hated the concept. He hated all of it. And he was never one to stop, never one to not say his feelings. And so I was copied on it, and I'm the guy who created it. And he's like, "This is terrible." And I hate it. And I replied to Norm and said, "You know what? F Neil Adams then, and I accidentally replied all. And And I made an enemy of Neil Adams for life as an unknown comic book creator, and it was the worst thing I ever did. But some of the recipes: Franny's yeast rolls by Ben Humeniuk. 1 package of Fleischmann dry yeast, 2.5 cups warm water, 2/3 cup sugar, 3 tablespoons shortening, an egg, and tablespoon of salt and flour is needed. I won't go through the steps.
Yeah, don't give the recipe. They have to get the book for that, Chuck. Just name some delicious meals that people would want to eat.
He just wants to find out what the creepiest foods are.
How about cold beetroot soup?
That sounds terrible.
Oh.
What about let's see here. Greek Kopanicity dip.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't either. How about Bang Bang McChicken?
Why mix
Okay.
chicken?
What about?
I
if
need
you
You
got
want,
any?
you want Steve Niles' recipe?
Yeah.
It's called, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's French, but it's mise en place. MISCENPLACE. It's a
Mhm.
main dish. You make it in a large pot or Dutch oven. But that's Steve Niles' recipe.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
We've got, let's see here. Neil Clyde's recipe is Savers Tuesday tacos, but on a Wednesday. That's the name.
Hey, I'm always
yeah.
down for some tacos.
So no blood pudding, no head cheese.
Well, I'm sure it's coming, Lovern. I'm sure it's coming, but we only have about 30 recipes in so far. But you can be guaranteed with the sick MFers that are in this book that something's coming of that nature. That's absolutely correct.
If you want to get sick and twisted, can I just say, and we've just had him on the show, it makes me wonder if you had Doug Wagner write a food story, what he would come up with. I would imagine it wouldn't be pleasant. It would probably involve eating it with a spork, but that's a whole different point altogether.
What I'm interested in knowing what Hester's coming back with, because Hester has gone through being Phil Hester, big fat Phil Hester, and real thin Phil Hester, and I'm wondering what recipe we're going to get from which part of his life. Are we going to get big Phil Hester or thin Phil Hester? But we'll see. Also supremely interested in what a couple of horror, a couple of other kind of horror writers. I'm working with an artist on a couple of books called Jeremiah Scheich. I'm kind of interested what he's going to come back with, because it's going to say a lot about him. I have 2 recipes in it. One is a toned down recipe. It's American tacos that we make at home. But the other recipe is a way involved split pea soup recipe that looks like vomit, but my wife makes amazing split pea soup. But it looks like either vomit or baby diarrhea, but it's delicious.
Oh no. My wife has a great split pea and ham soup recipe, yep. But she uses fresh peas, and it comes out a really bright green.
Wow! So it also looks like baby poop or diarrhea or vomit.
Look, person,
it looks like soup.
Can we just stop? Look, because I'm literally, like, you said something about tacos, and I'm literally, when we wrap the show, about to go make some tacos. Can we stop talking about vomit and baby diarrhea? And like it's good, because I'm like, I was hungry, but you guys are killing my hunger right here, right? Like, just to.
Yeah. So you don't want to hear about the restaurant that serves these really amazing sausages. Really, really excellent restaurant. Sausages are great, but you would not take a picture of them and post it on your Instagram, because it looks like a pile of dog crap.
Okay, all right.
But it tastes so good.
I'm in. I will taste that pile of dog crap, because I will look past the visual and go straight for the taste.
All right, let's get back to the commentary, because I love that you got Phil Hessler in there too, man, who's been on the show. Great dude. I think we've got him coming booked up for PanCon here soon. I don't know. It's weird with Scott handling the booking. I don't. Like, sometimes I'm like, I think we've got that coming up. I'm not sure, though. Scott's booking now. But I'm pretty sure Phil's coming up on a PanCon here in the next couple months, too. A great guy. So you really have with this though, man. You've assembled quite a team. What was how was that endeavor, man? I'm curious because I know like if you we just had Marcus Roberts on not that long ago, and they did the Infinity Engine, which was a bunch of black creators coming together, and they were taking creator-owned concepts and making like uh, a big event of it with all these
Is
characters.
that the Epiphany from Advent?
Epiphany Engine.
Is that what it is? Is that what you're talking about? The Epiphany engine from Advent? I'm sorry, I'll shut up. That's what I thought you were talking about.
From Advent. No,
A bunch of
I
coming together to create this big crossover, but
it was a bunch of black creator. It was a bunch of black creators coming together with their like creator-owned, and they were bringing them all together. They called Epiphany Engine.
yeah, there's a big project coming from Advent Comics called Epiphany Engine. All black creators with their creator-owned comics doing this huge crossover event through Advent. That's what I thought you were talking about.
If you I thought, but they're running on a Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, it's a Kickstarter.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we were speaking of the same thing. If you guys want to hear more about that, kick back a couple quests. We have Marcus Roberts on, and we got in depth. I'm trying to arrange something with a collection of those creators, but there's a lot of them, and I don't want to have 100 people on the show at one time because I don't. Yeah, I seen that smirk, Lovern. Like that would be funny. And that wouldn't be chaos. It wouldn't. No one would hear anything, man. You know how bad of a Zoom Skype. Like no. And for that matter, if I tried to edit 100 layers of video on my computer, it would probably finally just die. It'd be like, no, dude, I'm unaliving myself right now. This is too much video. You know. But I'm curious in this, man. What was the process? Because with this, obviously, you're not writing one story like they did with Epiphany Engine. You're making it to where it's several with everything. What was the process as far as getting everybody together from to where you had writers, you had the artists together, and the artist, the writer were hooked up for the story, and then you also have to convey the whole message of, hey, look, I know I said I wanted a story, but I want a recipe too. And did anybody think that was odd? Like, what do you mean? Do you want a recipe? I'm a writer, dude. What are you talking about?
So that's a great question. So I'm in sales in my day job, insurance. So I'm okay at presenting and selling a concept, but this is a little different. So the way it started out, I was talking with a couple of friends, mainly a friend who kind of left the project, but mainly my main writing partner right now, Jason Michalski. He has a book from Blood Moon called Northern Blood. He and I started talking, and it was like it was a matter of, all right, who do we know, right? Who do we know? And I've met, since I came back to comics, a bunch of indie comic book creators that are very talented, that I respect supremely. And we thought, you know what, let's start reaching out to some indie comic book creators. And then Jason had mentioned to me, well, Chuck, you've been around a long time. You know some other people. Why don't you invite them? And I thought to myself, no freaking way they'll be interested. No, I'm not going to do it. I'll just embarrass myself, But then we sent out a couple of emails, and literally everybody jumped on. They're like, this is a great idea. I love food. I want in, and it was super easy. It was beyond easy. It was the easiest thing I've ever done in comics. And that's saying a lot, because most everything we do in comics is ridiculously hard. This was, hey, we're doing an anthology, food-based. You want in, and do you want to submit a recipe? And everybody was like, hell yeah, And it wasn't hard at all. And all of a sudden, now we're up to 87 creators and 48 stories in the anthology. We have 2 stories open because we are not going over 50. So, but yeah, it almost like we said, like I am a Steve Niles freaking fanboy. I did not know Steve Niles. I knew a lot of other creators before this, but I did not know Steve Niles. but I love his work, and I am just I'm that to Steve Niles, right? And Lovern mentioned he just worked with him, and I was thinking to myself, how cool is that? So I sent an email to Steve Niles and I said, I don't know you, but we're doing this thing and this is what it is. And he emailed me back like in 10 minutes. He was like, yeah, I'm in. I'm going to do this. And then he wrote his script 3 days later. That's how excited people are about this project because it's different. It's different from what other things that have been done. And so, yeah, I mean, that's how we got a lot of people because nobody says it's weird. They basically say, how has this not been thought of before?
I can see that point. Yeah,
I think the only thing I think that's weird is that it hasn't been done yet.
Do you guys have an approximate launch date out of curiosity?
Yeah, October 1st. So I'm using the printer that we used for the Unbitter Souls Omnibus. That's this behemoth thing. But we made a big omnibus, and then the printer that I used for that, I suggested to, who Marcus Nasso is, By the Horns.
Not me.
Yeah, no.
How about you, Julie?
No.
Amazing writer, and his artist partner Jason Murr, who's at Marvel right now. They have this great book at Scout called By the Horns, but they did a Kickstarter, another hardcover book, and they said, "Hey, who did you use for your book?" And I told them about the printer. So I've sent this printer a few people, and so the printer basically told us that the minute we fund, not when we're paid, but the minute we fund, we can send our order in and they'll start working on it. So that's about a month and a half head start on, so we can go about a month and a half faster. We're really on time. We're really on target. We're going to, it's a big book. It's going to be 400 pages. It'll basically be printed while as long as the Kickstarter funds. Let's say we fund on day 3. Hopefully, I think we will with this project with these names.
You've got a collection. Yeah, you've got a collection of creators there that I would be surprised if it wasn't. And I'd say there's a link in the description, but this quest will be out long before that link's available. But if you have any link for me to put that makes it easy for them to click, give me that link, Chuck, and there'll be links in the description. If you click those links and follow Chuck, you'll be able to find it. Do that. Follow Chuck on social media. That way, when this drops, you can easily find it. I mean, you can check out a number of people that he's mentioned that are in this book on the questionnaire in the past as well, which I'm kind of happy to be able to say, man. But I think it's intriguing. But here's a point I want to get into that I think is very interesting that it was trade. But if you look at now with how you're doing this, and this is your creation. But you are also the promotion behind it, as well as all of the other creators, right? That's what this is. There is this is the marketing team, right? Where it used to be things like this didn't happen. It wasn't unless you were like literally slinging them by yourself to people. That's the only time people were marketing team. But if it was going out like en masse, like some of these things are, there was always a marketing team. How much do you think that's changed things based on the fact that within when that happened, it turned creators, actors, entertainers, musicians, all of these people suddenly into promoters? And look, Lovern, he had to make an appearance.
Hey there. What's that cat saying?
Scotty. Which is hilarious because look, I just got a new box at the comic shop, and I liked the box. I mean, it's Scotty Young, but I just think that's funny. That wasn't intentional, and I didn't even that didn't dawn upon me until I had Scotty, that meaning my cat, in my hand, who's now jumped in the laundry basket and is sitting there. But back to my question. Sorry.
Okay, all right. I swear to God, it was just sitting here because I was talking to a friend of mine. You know that Kingdom Come is 25 years old, and there's going to be a documentary about it this year, right?
Yes.
Okay. So 25 years ago, and God, am I dating myself? I'm really embarrassed to do this. This previews came out. This is the Kingdom Come #1 previews. And this is, I have a point to this thing because based on your question about how has marketing changed, right? So a young 20-something-year-old Chuck Satterlee created a book with his buddy called Agony Acres. And it was the first book I ever created. And it's in this previews. And I keep it because of that. I didn't keep it because of Kingdom Come. I kept it because of Agony Acres.
Yeah.
But my point is, we created a. I think I have a copy of it right here. Give me a second. We created this. Yeah, here it is. Hold on.
I might have some Jeopardy music playing right here just for fun.
I found. So we went to a Kinko's back in the day before when they still existed, and we created something called an ash can. Lovern, you know what this is.
Yeah.
And it was black and white.
There's
And
actually a couple in this box back here that I got at Wizard World when it still existed as a convention. So let me just date myself too. I was like 15 though, so.
Yeah. So
you guys didn't worry about that. I got a few years on you, so.
So we would send the black and white photocopied ash can just stapled together to physical addresses of creators that we knew where we knew their address, or maybe we get their address at a con or at Chicago Comic Con or whatever. And that's how we would put together an ad saying, actually, I think Lovern, you are in this ad.
Oh, no.
Let me double check. Maybe you are. Maybe you aren't. But no, you're not. It was another L with a long last name. It's Lenz Trzaskowski, not Lovern.
Oh, Lenz Trzaskowski, yeah.
But we got Paul Kupperberg, Joe Quesada, Jim Shooter, Norm Breyfogle, Peter Laird, Eric Les Trzaskowski, Lorene Haynes, all these people, and they would give us a blurb that they literally mailed to us because email didn't exist yet. And so what I'm getting across is that that's how hard we worked back in the day to get a book marketed, and then we sold our blood and plasma so we could buy an ad in previews because it was the only thing going back then. Now things are much different, so the way we're marketing now is we've evolved. I sent an email out today to all 87 creators in Pots and Panels that talked about how a few weeks before we launch, when we launch, and then throughout the campaign, how we're going to have a TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, all pages where there are Pots and Panel pages where we're going to generate posts, right? And those posts need to be generated by those pages and then liked, commented on, and shared by all of the creators who have 20,000, 30,000 followers, things like that. Tim Seeley, for instance, has 35,000 followers. He's in the book. And then the algorithm will then take hold and make things happen. And that's how we are marketing this book. So back in the day, we went and we made a black and white copy at Kinko's, and today we're talking algorithms. So yeah, it's changed a lot.
Well, and also the fact that I think what you did back then, people considered far less accessible, and it was far more difficult to actually be able to do it. When now it's far easier, and I think that makes it to where people perhaps are more inclined to be artistic, which I think is a good thing in most cases. Not all cases, in most cases. Some people should just keep their thoughts to themselves, right? And I mean, I'm not
You're
saying
right
any. And look, I say that as a fan of Garth Ennis and somebody that loved Caust, just truly thinks it should always remain a comic and never be anything else. But it is an excellent comic, but it should never be and no one needs that animated or in live action. Is my only point. See, Scotty agrees, right? But so I think that's good, but I think it also caused a flood to where there's so much more suddenly present in the market. You know what I mean? Because where you put that ad in previews, okay, all you're doing is you're arguing and you're trying to get somebody to read that when they're going through previews and notice that more than whatever other book that they might have gotten. When it's the internet, even with the algorithm, there's still the fact that there are endless amounts of selection for people to get as far as entertainment.
Yes.
What do you think that has what do you think the overall effect of that is? And when you look at situations like what you guys are doing with pots and panels, what they're doing with Epiphany Engine, how beneficial do you think that is for independent creators when they're able to come together like that as a collective? Because then they're obviously going to be able to push something more like that when there's a 50, 80 people pushing it as opposed to what happened there? As opposed to, oh, Cat, you're a douche.
What'd you call me?
I called my cat a douche. Yeah, Cat, you're a douche.
Well, that said, I'm leaving.
I said Cat, not Lovern.
That language.
Douche? Are you serious? I said douche. Don't give me language for saying douche with everything you said during this interview.
That's me.
The little
That's me.
Avengers,
Yeah, that's me inventing a clever segue into telling you that my time is up.
Oh no!
Well,
All
and
right.
also
Well, I'm gonna email you tomorrow.
I'll be real honest.
I look forward to it.
I want to go cook tacos. Laverne, you want to see me torture Chuck real quick? Huh?
Well, hey,
Do you want to hang around for the torture, Laverne? I'm just asking, man.
I'm willing to
can't
do
see.
whatever you need.
Jay, I haven't seen your picture the whole time we've been talking. All I see is a little button with TU on it.
I am the unknown. I don't know what to tell you.
You are.
Laverne, I don't know. Like if you'd have told me that, I would have reset my camera at the beginning so you could have seen me. But I've got Scotty, my kitty, and he showed up the first time when Laverne was co-host because that's when we actually got him, and it was the first time I'd done a show. And I just want to let you know, Laverne, you're giving some catnip. I'm like, no, he shows up. He's the unofficial co-host that is terrible at his job because he comes up and bites me on the face sometimes when Scott tells him to. He literally did. He straight Laverne I will send you the clip, man. I still need to edit that and do a reel. But what I want to let you, English fails me sometimes, gentlemen. What are you gonna do?
Fails us all.
Doesn't it? It's annoying, right? But I do want everybody out there to make sure they check all the links in the description, right? Follow Chuck on social media. You'll be able to find out about pots and panels, which, dude, firstly, what a great name for what you're doing.
Yes.
Bon appetit. It's perfect. It really, really is, Chuck. You couldn't have gotten any better, right? But for everybody watching out there, besides, if you've enjoyed this quest with Chuck, man, besides going and following his socials, right? What you can do, right, is you can send him. Really, Kong? You went with Kong? I could send you Alan Henry. He played Kong. We might make a conversation about that. Literally, the fact that you said Kong, I've never been able to take this so literally, Chuck, right? So, if you, what you do is you hit up Alan Henry, right? We're gonna we're not even going with Kong. We're going with the dude that played it because Alan's great. You can watch us play D&D. We're gonna be lining up another session here in a while, and it's been wild, man. You ever played with a D&D with a professional actor? That's weird, right? But back to what I was saying. So, send Chuck Allen Henry, the guy that played Kong. Because, come on, Chuck, what's up, right? But what I want you to make sure what Alan has is a Stretch Armstrong, right? Right? And one of them old school ones, not a new school one. An old
I had a
school
Stretch
one.
Armstrong. I also had a Monster. Remember the Monster?
Well, get him a set, man. Come on, make his day, right? And
Lavern's got to go, man. Yeah.
And- and some Chicago style pizza. Go figure you go for some Chicago style, Chuck. Right now, if you haven't enjoyed this particular quest with Chuck, once again I ask, why are you at the end of the quest? But whatever. If you are, here's how you can torture Chuck a little, right? Right? Because why not? I don't ask all these questions for no reason. Maybe it's just all really, really sly. For one, you can go get a little bit of information that we don't get over here on the Patreon. All you got to do is be a member. That don't even cost anything to check out these pre-show questionnaires. There's some interesting questions and information about all these creators that we don't talk about, right? Two, beyond that, I like to find ways to torture people. What can I say, right? So, if you didn't enjoy it, what I want you to do, right, is I want you to send him. Wait. Dude, why'd you write such a long answer to that? Yeah, okay, a succubus. Why'd you write such a long answer? That was a long. Go read Chuck's whole questionnaire if you want to know why I'm complaining right now. That was. I needed one word, Chuck. You gave me a paragraph.
I'm a writer. I cannot be concise.
Well, look, dude, Dominic was worse. Dominic gave me like 4 pages for every answer. And I was like, I love you, Dominic. I can't deal with this pre-show questionnaire in my brain. I don't even think I used it during his quest. He's been on a couple times as co-host, and I love him, man. But man, it's like sometimes you get these writers with these questionnaires, and it's like, and they took that real serious, like, right? But again, instead of a succubus, right? To just go ahead and just play the Barney theme song, right? So it's just a succubus going, I love you, you love me, we're a happy family. Yeah. Wow. He is force-fed Limburger by that same succubus. I don't think he'll have a good time, right? Right. It'll be pretty terrible. But if you wanna just get a kick out of him, if you see him at a show, just walk up and start singing Dennis Leary's Asshole. Because that song, I agree, is a bloody classic. Besides that, for all y'all out there, all I want you to do is 3 more things. 1, give it that thumbs up or, whatever, right? Equivalent to wherever you're listening. I don't know. Too many buttons on social media. I don't like them all. Right? 2, always get your comic on. 3, have a good night, y'all.
This has been the questionnaire.
Where's the link?
Thanks for checking out the questionnaire.
In the link below, yes?
I will drop it like it's hot.
That's another party.
It's cool, man. I love it.
The questionnaire. That is all.